I think one of the things about Margaret Talbot that impressed me the most was her love of humanity, her love of people. And this became very apparent very early on. They lived in Kansas for a short period of time and worked there. And while they were there, they became acquainted with a young woman in Mom's Sunday school class, Margaret's Sunday school class, by the name of Juanita. She came to Sunday school class one day, and Mom could tell that she was, I'm sorry, she's been Mom to me for so long that you'll have to recognize when I say Mom, I mean Margaret Talbot. She noticed that Juanita was very depressed, and she asked her if there was a problem, and she told her that their parents had both recently died. There were two small brothers or young brothers at home. They were going to lose their home, and she did not know what in the world they were going to do for these brothers and sisters. Juanita at that time was in college. Well, what did Mom and Dad Talbot do? But they gathered the kids up and their belongings and just took them in, just like that. They, these two boys, they already had two young boys of their own, and here all of a sudden they were taking in two more boys. And when they moved back to Colorado, they brought the boys with them, and they lived with them till they were old enough to be on their own. They were Mom and Dad to Lyman and to Lyle. By the way, I married one of them, so that made Margaret Talbot my mother-in-law and much treasured. There were three people who really were started in the original organization, and that, of course, was Margaret Talbot. It was Vera Foss, who some of you saw a little earlier, and a neighbor named Dorothy Power. All three ladies members of the First Baptist Church in I have to put in a plug. They started with nothing but concern. There were no funds for this sort of thing. If you ever were had a chance to have visited the initial labor camp, or the old one that was down by the river, you know it wasn't anything to brag about. But it was shelter for people who came in from all over the country to help work in the harvest. And Mom, being who she was, decided we've got to do something about this. These people need some help. And so she went to work. And they started very early with just a program right down at the labor camp. They rounded up sewing machines that anybody had one who they weren't using, asked them to volunteer or to donate, which they did. And they started sewing classes for the women and had sewing machines available so they can, take care of the clothes and this sort of thing. This was just a beginning, and one thing led to another. And as time went by, they found more capabilities to help the people who were here for the migrant work. So Mom decided there should be schools for these children who were coming in and weren't getting to go home. At that time, a lot of the people were families who came in from other states and worked through harvest. But there were children who weren't going home in time to start school. And so she made arrangements with the school district to use one of the buildings here in Palisade, and they found a teacher who would take the children, and they started a school for these little children, which has grown into a major part of the school district at this point. But this is where it started, was with the program of these three women. And my first experience with daycare came along about then, because they wanted to start a daycare for the children through the summer months, and because they didn't have anybody to take care of them or any place to go or play or what. So we started with the basement of the First Baptist Church and set up a daycare center. A lady was hired to run the daycare and take care of the children, and we got along just fine that first year. And then the health department, I assume it was, decided that no, you can't have children in a basement. So we had to make arrangements for the children to be elsewhere. Well, our church had just recently built a new educational building, so there was lots of room, and it was right there by the church, and the kids could all be upstairs instead of down in a basement. You know, I don't know about you, but most my kids grew up in the basement of the church at Sunday school, so it didn't seem to me that it hurt them any. And from there, it progressed into the point where daycare for the children now is an important thing, and the children are enrolled in school. My daughter works with these children through the school district. And I can't remember. I think she said there are about 400 children, migrant children or children of migrant parents, let me put it that way, in the school district, and they seem to be doing pretty well. One of the other things that I think she was particularly, I don't want to say proud of, because pride wasn't what she felt. She was very grateful, I guess, for the development of a medical program to help these people. And the doctor who was in town at that time was very ready and willing to be what help he could. And, you know, it started out with small situations and the doctor looking after a few people and this sort of thing. And today it is a major program in the valley with medical care for migrant workers. They started a program down in Fruita. There were a lot of people who were there to what did they pick, Lyman? Sugar beets. Dug them, I guess is what they did. And so they constructed, and when I say they, I don't know who all to tell you was involved, but these, particularly Mom and Dad Talbot, and then these other people were all involved in doing what was necessary to secure the funds and whatnot to construct a building, and it was a nice building. The sugar beets went away, and so did the migrants in the Fruita area, and I'm not real sure what happened to the building, but it's probably still there, would be my guess. The thrift shop was sort of through hers and the committees, the three ladies. I can't leave the other two ladies out because they were involved in everything that was done. Usually the ideas came from Mom and somebody else ended up doing the work. You know how that kind of works. It was through their efforts that the current building in which the services are now available was purchased and renovated at that point to make it more usable for the particular program that was carried on. It has just been a beautiful renovation of that building recently, and it is so very, very nice. Let me see. The thrift shop was another one of the things that was instigated through these particular ladies. And they started out by gathering up almost cast-offs, you know, but things that people could wear, and particularly work clothes for men, which is still a lot of what we deal with in the thrift shop. But it just goes on, and whatever the need was, there seemed to be a way to work it out if you had the time and the intelligence and the determination to find an answer. It was there somewhere, and this was Mom. This was Mom.